Hello and welcome back to the Rugby Pod. I'm Andy Rowan, Big Jim and Goodey are with me as usual, but it's not as usual, is it, lads?
It's the old usual.
We're back in studio. More about that in a minute. We'll be looking back at all the action from the Champions Cup quarterfinals and ahead to the semi-finals this weekend. Plus, we'll be chatting to Finn Russell about the Russing Magic Show at the weekend and look forward to their head-to-head with Rochelle. So settle back, enjoy, and make sure you've subscribed on Spotify.
Pod.
Rugby pod.
You speak much faster in person.
I've had 3 coffees.
He's absolutely buzzing to be. We're in the Spotify studios, lads.
We are. Why are you breathing so loudly? I just feel
Well,
you
I'm
breathing.
about to walk from the station, so I'm still breathing.
Very true.
Well, luckily, I'm still breathing, yeah. But
Look at
breathing
us.
heavily.
Look at
How
us.
good is this? We've
Feels
made
weird.
it.
Feels weird.
It does feel weird.
Feels
doesn't it?
right. Been a long time coming.
I felt you earlier. It does feel weird. What's happened to you?
What do you mean?
Or do we get into the crux of it? Or
No, let's be positive. Andrew, you're looking...
I'm wearing black.
you're wearing black.
For the listeners, I'm wearing black, which is meant to be slimming.
Holiday.
Pause.
Holiday.
Yeah, there's no slimness in the black, is there?
It's not been 2 years, though, since we've been together. We've obviously seen each other around and we've done a few live shows, but I'll be honest, I've not seen you both sat down. That's the realisation, Andrew, that...
We're back.
But also there's a long road ahead. I'm watching the sat-down profile.
The long and winding road.
That leads to... That could get copyrighted. Producer Tristan's in the house as well. He's in the room. You might need to edit that out because we could get done for copyright. But on that, without getting too deep, it's first day in Spotify. We've got to be upbeat. I'm having an operation next week, I think it is. Finally. It's finally happening anyway. Been doing a bit of pre-op this week, having to go in, get the heart tested. Strong as an ox.
Did they find one?
Hey, they found 2. Beating as slow as a drum. Is that a thing or not? It depends who the drummer is, doesn't
You're
it?
a low heart rate, though, don't you?
I've got a low heart rate. Anyway, enough about the positives on that. I'm in there and I'm looking around, and hell of a place, obviously, hospitals. When you have a look around, when you got your stitches in RB, that was a few interesting characters in there as well. But without going too far down, like at some point, someone's wiping my arse.
Some of us sooner than others.
Yeah.
You struggle to wipe your ass anyway, don't you? You go through the middle.
We'll go through, down the front. Yeah. Pull them out the way. And
I remember we had that
jobs are
conversation. I'm thinking about this. Now we're back in the studio. We used to talk about some ridiculous things, didn't we? And it just bounced. I'll never forget being on the train back from London to Gerrard's Cross, and some bloke just drops a note on my lap and says, "Jim's weird. Everyone should wipe round the back." Like, that's where our podcast got to, talking about how you wipe your arse. And some bloke didn't even speak to me, just put something on my lap as he walked off the train. And it was, "Jim's weird. You should always wipe round the back."
Well, that bloke as well. One day will be having his arse wiped. We all are. That was my thought being in hospital.
That was your thought. You've got.
I'm walking around thinking like it ain't ending well.
Imagine the nurse and you're like, no, not that way. Round the front, please.
She asked me if I was a model.
For what?
No, she didn't.
Balaclavas.
I'm looking round.
Gloves.
I'm looking round the room and I'm thinking, I know why she's asking.
Because you look like a coat hanger.
All right, mate.
Yeah.
All right.
Shout.
All right, Andy Rowe. Yeah, well, she did, and I basically just said we, and that was it. And
You weed on her?
No, she took me out right, and she had to get someone in. Is this real? 44. It was.
44 beats per minute.
It was 44 beats per minute on the ECG, so that would have been like a snapshot of a few seconds.
It's pretty good.
But it's still
It's really good.
44 beats per minute. Is that good, is it?
Yeah.
Why is mine always at 160? Is that bad?
Because you're eating. That's
Okay.
why.
How's your week been other than that, lads? What have you been up to?
Busy. Andrew, we'll come on to your lovely comment on Twitter. I don't know whether you were taking the piss. I was doing a bit of commentary at the weekend. I was also at London Scottish Hall of Fame dinner, Legends dinner.
They put you in the Hall of Fame?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
I thought
Doesn't
they
even
put
have a
me
locker.
down. I thought they put me down as a legend on the flyer. So I'm texting my agent saying that I'm feeling a bit embarrassed because it's myself, Stephen Jones, and Chris Jones.
Stephen Jones is in Welsh Fly-Off team. He is a legend.
No, as in not him.
Who
No,
then?
Exactly. The Times editor, my fellow Times editor,
Clown.
writer. Well, I've got him and Chris Jones, and I'm embarrassed, right, that this flyer's going out, not just for the 2 Joneses, but for myself. Just be humble, Jim. They're inducting some London Scottish legends into the Hall of Fame. So I was a speaker there with John Inverdale hosting. It was the old school crowd, I'll be honest. There was a lot of boat shoes and there was a lot of tweed. And I just mixed it up a little bit with some skinny black.
Some cov.
Yeah, a bit of coffee, a bit of white shirt open, a bit of tat showing.
How'd it go?
It was good. I think.
How was the crowd though? Because sometimes
Oh,
they're
it was a
mixed.
good crowd. But they're London Scottish, but they're like me. They're not like Scottish, you know. So they got the self-deprecation. When I do the self-deprecation in Scotland, like they're actually pissed off when I say it.
Well, you're just being honest, aren't you? Like,
Yeah, but well, exactly.
when you talk about our shit with the backs, and actually it was the forwards as well.
They
But
hate it. As in, that's what I say. I say our shit with the backs, like Phil Godman, Dan Parks. I'm not allowed to say Phil Godman anymore. Dan Godman. And when I say that joke in Scotland, it's tumbleweeds. But in London, Scottish, they loved it. So I was there Wednesday night, then commentating on Friday. How the hell have I managed to get into that, Goodey?
well, I'll tell you how you got into it, because you told us all about it on BT Sport. Fucking relentlessly, right? Within 30 seconds of being on air, I think you mentioned 4 times that you were captain of Gloucester in your career, and you played for Saracens for 3 years as well and finished your career there in the opening 30 seconds. So that's probably how you got the gig, Jim, because you are the most relevant person in terms of clubs. But I meant everything I said on Twitter, Jim.
Did you or not? Are you taking the piss?
Just tell us what you said on Twitter first.
He basically said, I'm the GOAT and I'm still young.
Yeah, I didn't get that far. I didn't get that far. Shall I read it out?
Go on.
So I said, I'm slightly biased, but how good is Jim Hamilton 4 on comms on BT Sport Rugby tonight? He knows his onions, but I'm definitely waiting for a Jimism. Plenty of Jimisms.
You got a couple, didn't you?
I heard it. Tip the slipper. It was out there, wasn't it? No, I don't think many people got it. I'm like, that. There's one. But yeah, I generally meant it.
Thank you.
Very good. A little bit too many mentions of I was captain of Gloucester and I played for Saracens for 3 years.
I think I said I was captain of Gloucester once.
I won 2 Heineken Cups and premierships galore. I mean, there's self-deprecation when you're doing your after-dinner speeches, and then there's talking yourself up like you wouldn't believe on comms. But
I'll say out of all the ones I've done, because Austin's burying me the whole time, and Sam Warburton, as we know, is a rugby great. We can put him in that bracket. And albeit Gloucester captain, albeit Saracens legend, they said, a bit nervous doing it. And as we know, Andrew, I always say, you're one of the best in the business at doing it. And the interesting shift for me was chatting to my mate Deeks, one of the most least engaging blokes you'll ever speak to. Ever.
hey, hell of a left hook, though.
Oh, I tell you now, I'd only say that on the airways. If I said it to his face, the likelihood is I'll be asleep in 3 seconds, but I'd jump up after 4 because I'm hard. And he said to me, after I did London Irish Quins, that he really enjoyed it. And he said, the reason why, he said, because you were you.
Yeah.
And I wasn't trying to be anything else. And I think that that's the big thing. Sometimes you do these things, you do commentary and it's mainstream TV, and I do ITV, and you look at Woodward and Wilkinson, again, 2 greats of the game though, still in that sense. And I'm stood there having the lowest win percentage of any Scotland player in modern history. And I think, right, how am I going about this? The old imposter syndrome. Just be yourself, and you either want it or you don't. It's as simple as that. And then that way you can walk away with the tail between your legs, and it's a big old tail. And it's nice getting your tyres pumped up. But I did say I was Gloucester captain because I was getting rinsed on Twitter. That was why, for being Saracens biased. But you can only say what you see, and they got hammered.
Yeah, but you'd been on air for 5 seconds and you said I was captain of this club. So I don't think you got your phone
I
out
wanted
and
to
checked
set the scene because people are like, why the hell's he on commentary? And I just set the scene. Saracens, 3 years. Gloucester captain, 3 years.
3 minutes at Saracens as well.
Is it the same approach you take, Goodey? Just be yourself?
Yeah, just say it as you see it. Simple, isn't it? And I'll tell you what I did at the week. So 2 things at the weekend. Went on a charity bike ride with the Blue Light Cycling Club. Shout out to those guys and
Oh, I
girls.
saw you on the Lycra.
Yeah, embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. I've gone on a cycle ride with Victoria Pendleton, multiple Olympic champion.
Are you this size
Oh,
now?
Oh, probably heavier. Pre-bike. We got the new kit for the Blue Light Cycling Club,
Oh
which
my gosh.
I'm an ambassador for. UK Cops as well. Care of Police Survivors, the charity. And she's been able to talk and ride up a hill, not even sweat.
You know when they hand you your lycra, at the start,
Slow down.
when they hand your lycra at the start, are they laughing when they give it you or not? Or is it like a serious handover?
It's a serious handover. It's a bit awkward. I'm like, is that 5XL or what? It's horrible, isn't it, Lycra? Absolutely horrible.
No one looks good in lycra.
Oh, no.
So that was Friday last week.
Did you finish the ride, though?
Yeah, way in the back. They were waiting for. I think they'd had their lunch by the time I finished it.
They've done a loop. That's
We'd
why.
gone. It was down at Sandbanks. What a place that is as well. I mean, you got to have some coin there. Harry Redknapp lives there, down in Bournemouth. some of the houses, just ridiculous. Lovely sunny day. Got the ferry over to the island. Very nice day. Bit of charity work. I realised I need to work on my fitness a little bit. Fairly embarrassed driving home because I was so far behind most people going up hills and I couldn't breathe, but it's life.
Good on you, though.
And then Saturday, back at the Tigers. Can't call it the Andy Good Suite yet. It'll get there.
Do you reckon?
It's called the Champions Club, so it's probably best known as the Champions Club. But I had that, and I had some old friends of ours. Harry Ellis was there.
I heard he was. Oh, you told me he was there. I heard he was there. You told me.
Yeah, Harry was there. Brought his son along, which was nice to meet his son. And I just want to tell, when his son gets older, I'm going to tell him some of the stories about his dad, because that bloke is an absolute legend, Harry Ellis. Shane Jennings, that we spoke to last week, he was there. Just reminiscing about the good old days before we retired and had kids and all that stuff. There's the stuff we used to get up to in the terrace, Jim. Remember the terrace?
No. I do miss them days. I think about the Tigers lads a lot, and it's great to see them back on the top, I know they didn't win, but they're back at the top effectively.
Well, we'll talk about that game shortly and the other Champions Cup games, but it's got back into the news again that the Nations Championship, if you want to call it that, the International World Cup League thing that they want to run, is back in the news again. Do you guys know much about that?
Yeah, they're trying to commercialise it with a TV deal to make something viable international rugby in between the World Cups. The one thing I've read, and you know, it's all hearsay until they come out and officially announce stuff that's been agreed or discussed. They're talking about the Tier 2 stuff being played at neutral venues. So, you know, you've got all the Tier 2 nations, so the likes of Romania and the Netherlands and Portugal and Spain and all this stuff.
Can't say Spain.
You can. And then Tonga, Samoa and all these other countries that are sort of the lesser nations. There will be a promotion and relegation playoff game. But the one thing I picked up on and read, there's the big debate about how to split the revenue. And to me, it seems that what it's going to be is these 12 teams in the top league are going to get more money. The lesser teams in the Challenger League are going to have to play a lot of their games on neutral territory, which means they won't benefit from ticket sales in their own country. They won't benefit from commerciality necessarily in their own country. So again, you just want the wealth to be split evenly, so you can actually bring some of these Tier 2 nations like Scotland and like Romania on to develop themselves further, because the reality of Scotland's a joke there, Jim. He's now staring at me like he's going to kill me. But
No, I'm absorbing the Da Vinci Code, Andrew.
yeah, but it is a bit of a Da Vinci Code. We don't know enough about it. I like the idea of something being on all test matches, so a league format. And there's been loads talked about. We had Augustin Pichot on here, we had Sir Bill Beaumont on here, and we've complained that nothing's been done. Now they're doing something about it. You just hope that there's a possibility that the revenue gets shared and the Tier 2 nations get a big slice of the pie, and it's not just the big nations getting richer off the back of something.
I want to know who's doing the TV deal, because I'm going to let them know that I was Gloucester captain. Get myself in the front of the queue. I mean, I was called Tier 2 when it comes to media. That's what my agent said the feedback was, that I'm a Tier 2.
Well,
pundit.
Scottish, right?
I'll take it. Hey, if it's Tier 2, I'll take it. It's better than Tier 3. That's how I saw it.
Goody, you mentioned before you're at Welford Road. Tell me about the atmosphere.
Very special. A lot of Leinster fans there as well. A lot of blue flags. The noise was phenomenal, and it's one thing I've noticed going back to Leicester this year. And everyone talks about the lockdown and fans being locked out of stadiums, and players probably took that noise for granted when it was there week in, week out. And then you play in an empty stadium, and you realise actually you miss the fans, and they have a massive impact on the team, especially the home team, but also the away side, seeing away supporters, and trying to quieten down the home team and fans as well. But when you get into an atmosphere like that, and the last 2 weeks at Leicester, the Tom Youngs thing the week before when he's come on the field, the emotion and noise then, and then this week with Leinster in town, it was phenomenal for 5 minutes. And then Leinster kicked into gear, and we're 20-0 up after 20 minutes, and it was night, no biscuit pretty much. But the build-up to it was great in the corporate, speaking to some of the old boys. Jono was just sat there, just came for the crack.
Did he laugh at you?
I think so, yeah.
Apparently he's not happy with me and you.
Why?
You do know that, don't you?
Really?
No,
Yeah,
I interviewed him about 3 weeks ago.
Was he all right? Was
Yeah,
he?
loving it.
I heard he was filthy with us.
What for?
Well, he was at a dinner and someone was heckling him from behind, saying who's got the biggest bush. when he's up on stage talking about winning the World Cup in
Why
2003.
is that your fault?
Well, I think we said that he's had a bush on it, or you said that.
No, Martin Corrie has.
Oh, it was Martin. They got the mark. I'm sure you said Jono. Well, he has.
He does.
Oh, well, what do you think? Look at him. I mean, so
I don't know. I don't want to say. I don't want to be in his bad books.
of course. Well, we are in his bad books. But if he's all right with you, then maybe he's all right with me.
But no, it was the atmosphere was great, and then the game started, and as we know, Leinster were ridiculous. They won the game, better team by far. I've got to say it before we even talk. Mathieu Reynal was absolutely shocking.
Shocking.
Absolutely shocking. The
Compared
ref,
to Luke Pearce.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to compare him to. You've got to compare him to another guy that is refereeing a huge game in Ireland with the champions with a lot of pressure that goes all the way to, we'll come on to it, the penalty kicks. You've got to look at him compared to that.
Yeah.
And I said I was tier 2 media. He's tier 4, right? Based on that performance, Leinster were going to win it, right?
Yeah.
Leinster were going to win
They were
that
the better
game.
team. So for all our
Definitely.
listeners in Dublin, I'm not disrespecting Leinster's performance at all. Leicester didn't help themselves. Yeah, and we'll get into the crux of what actually happened in a minute. But I'm just saying, Mathieu Reynal was abysmal.
Yeah, there's nothing more to say. TMO, Andrew Good says it, and many people agree. And it's too easy to point the finger at the ref or say the referee wasn't good enough, but we've got to say it how it was. In terms of that being a quarter-final, just not good enough.
Yeah.
Like, it isn't. And luckily for Leinster and for Leicester and for the fans and people listening, Leinster were that much better that it didn't really matter because they would have won either way. Borthwick might think that isn't the case, but you know,
The thing on it, like the breakdown, was an absolute shit show.
but it always is with
Yeah.
referees. That wasn't the one for me. It wasn't necessarily the breakdown; it was the scrums.
Yeah.
So he's there and he's trying to give a penalty for Leicester against Leinster. Genji, the poor lad, he's shaking his head. I'm shaking my head, and of course you are. If you can probably hear the touch judge saying it. No, we no give. And
My name is Mathieu Reynal.
there was a number of things, but if you're Leicester in that game, and Jasper Wiese, who we love, I think he's a fantastic player, love him as a Leicester player, and he's talking up the physicality in the lead up to the week, and then 5 minutes into the game, Leinster are coming at you with all the places that we said around the breakdown, one-on-ones, and I think Leicester did everything they possibly could. I don't think they left a stone unturned, but that just shows you the gap between, well, obviously the two teams, but just actually the power of Leinster, which we all thought would have been the case. Austin thought that Leicester were going to win.
No.
I wanted Leicester to win.
Yep.
I can't remember what we said last week. Mark said that they were going to win.
I can't believe the absolute garbage that I now spouted off in the corporate hospitality suite before the game
Yeah,
about
win the fans, win the crowd.
win the fans. And I was sat behind the Leinster board, and in the first 15 minutes they just turned around waving their scarf at me.
Did you genuinely think that Leicester could win?
I thought they had a chance. Yeah, of course they did. Of course they did. At home, you know, the way they play a risk-averse game. What Leicester did was they had opportunities. Their line-out went to shit. James Ryan back, first game since he got banjoed by
He was unbelievable.
Charlie Ewells. He was amazing. The amount of Leicester in that first half had plenty of territory in possession in the opposition 22. And, you know, James Ryan came to town, nicked the line-outs. They knocked balls on. One thing for me, looking back on it, Nandolo should have started for me. You should have had Ashton on one wing, Nandolo on the other wing.
Which we
So you-
thought,
so you got a point of
said we
difference.
thought they would have gone with that.
Yeah, and obviously went Harry Potter and Ashton. And you needed a point of difference. Leinster were amazing. Defensively, they're so clinical in attack. They can all play with the ball. You know, they all understand the game. So they're so well coached. So when you're playing against a team that is that good, and it's an international team, you know, you look at their coaching setup. Felipe Contempomi, obviously Stuart Lancaster's in there as well. These are all international level coaches, and all the team are international level players playing for Ireland, who are second best team in the world potentially at the minute. So Leicester had to take every opportunity they got. They didn't, and Leinster took their opportunities. Van der Fleer is just, if he's not the best back rower in the world at the minute, I don't know who is, because Van der Fleer is ridiculously good. And they were so clinical, took their opportunities, powerful. Henshaw stepped up. Conan was good. You know, all their big names stepped up, and Leicester had to be at their very, very, very best to beat them, and they weren't. And you know, the line out went to pot a little bit, didn't it, at crucial times? A few knock-ons, but Leinster fully deserved their victory, even though Mathieu Reynal was shocking.
Well, things were far from comfortable at the Aviva, weren't they?
How good? How good was that game?
Amazing. And do you know what? And we spoke about it last week, didn't we? Around the fact that if Munster lose, blame Ed Sheeran.
You see, he had the Munster top on.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. So Ed Sheeran's done his concert in Thomond Park with
Trying to bring them back
with a jersey on to win over the fan. How many red jerseys and the wall of red were there at the Aviva Stadium?
40,000.
Phenomenal, wasn't it? Like, I sat there and I thought, actually, maybe it's better it's there because more Munster fans actually went to get and watch the game than you could fit in at Thomond Park. So the spectacle looked amazing. Sun was out. Munster will be absolutely devastated. 15 minutes to go. You're 10 points up, and then step up Malvaca and LeBel, the winger, and Zebo didn't even get close to the poor Zeebs.
And
That is horrible. Like, we've seen Zebo do some unbelievable things on the rugby field to other players. When it happens to you, and LeBel's done them with a right and then a left, and Zebo's literally just fallen over. What a step! And that brought it back into a close game again, and it was the atmosphere was unbelievable. And to finish with a penalty shootout, just ridiculously good.
If that was at Thomond Park, let's say it, Munster would have won it.
Really? Why?
I just reckon they would have. I know hindsight's a great thing. I just think that difference of being at home,
Yeah,
and whether or not the pitch is smaller, I don't know. It probably feels a little bit smaller, and everything that goes with it, I don't know. I mean, it's easy to say that. I know it's a bit of a throwaway comment, but look where Munster have grown since LEIVLEI or O'Wig.
Graham O'Rowntree.
Graham O'Rowntree, since he's been announced as coach. It feels like there's been a shift now, and I actually think they've been all right this season under Van Graham. But I think since Wig's been announced, there has been another shift. And I looked at the physicality. Big shout out to Bernard Jackman. I retweeted it a couple of days ago. He looked at the nuances and some real specifics around the breakdown and how well Munster did in that area.
So good. O'Mahony.
What
a boss.
O'Donoghue. I mean, you talk about fighting for your jersey, right? And again, on paper, Toulouse shouldn't lose to Munster. They shouldn't. But what that come down to from this Munster team, and I know they didn't win, and we're talking as if they are, because it came down to penalties, but that out-and-out physicality for your mates was just, it was frightening to see. And that's where it comes down to, I know the URC were going back here, if Munster can play like that against a Leinster on any given day, they could win it, right? That they could win the URC. And it must be difficult to play like that and come away with nothing. But big shout out to Bernard Jackman. I love the kind of little nuances of the breakdown, showing how to get to the pont, showing that it isn't just a counter ruck. You're pulling players out, and you've got to be fighting for the jersey, as Ed Sheeran was at Thomond Park, like the boys were as well.
He was fighting for fans, wasn't he? I'm sorry you lost.
Is that a song?
You mentioned O'Mahony when he
What's his name?
You mentioned O'Mahony. now I don't even know which one it is.
Peter O'Mahony.
You mentioned O'Mahony when he went off. Things sort of changed for Munster, didn't it?
Yeah, you don't know how much of that is because him going off injured, but for the reasons we've just mentioned, I mean, I don't know what his age is now. I know that he's not in his prime. He's 30-odd. And
he looks a lot older than he is.
He's got a lot of grey hairs, isn't he? Yeah. He's Irish, isn't he? They get grey hairs early, I think.
And he's been at the coalface.
Well. He's been down the well.
He's been down the well and at the
back.
coalface. And had his face battered at the coalface many times.
Unreal player.
Yeah,
I just think that the way the game has changed, I've played against him loads and we had a few grabbing matches, but the way that the game's evolved and the stuff that I've spoken around, the breakdown and the line out has come back into it a little bit more as well. He looks like he can go forever. I know he went off injured, but he looks like he's in his prime.
Yeah.
He really does, and he is a fantastic player, and he's going to be in around the Irish setup, of course, whether or not he starts. But definitely need him involved. But yeah, I mean, it did change. I don't think it was necessarily him going off. It was just Toulouse. You look at their team, you knew they were going to come back.
Let's talk about the penalty shootout then.
Oh my, I was scared. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, I mean, I come across as confident, but I reckon me, the sticks, a ball and a tee.
Not a chance.
I'll do it off the sand, I reckon.
Off the sand.
I wouldn't be putting myself forward.
Yeah, I mean, brutal. But how you settling the game of rugby when you've gone and done 100 minutes, the tries scored are the same. You know, that's the only real way without putting players at risk, even more risk.
I like it though. Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. I really did. And I like the change up to it. So obviously 3 kickers, 3 different positions, 2 kicks each.
Well, we know that now. How funny was it watching Luke Pearce?
Yeah.
And the player, no one knew, did they?
No, not really.
Not
and
really.
Well, you talk about no one knew. Untermack, when he slotted his one, he thinks he's won it. He's giving it the big. He thinks he's won it, and then no one's running on the pitch.
Is that why? Is that why?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, let's say it is.
Because if you know you've got 2 kicks, and if you know what's going on, you ain't throwing your hands in the air there like you've just won it properly, are you? I think he expected that
Not
was
off
the
the
winning
first
kick.
kick.
Yeah, because obviously,
Well, that's what I thought. I didn't know because until they put the dots up on screen,
yeah,
like penalty shootout in football,
yeah,
I thought it was just 1 round.
Yeah.
And then the next one who
Yeah.
loses sudden death. I didn't know until I saw the dots that,
Yeah.
that was the case.
So his was the 3rd kick, and obviously Ben Healy had missed one before, so he was slotted his to go 3 from 3, and he thinks that's it. It's done and dusted. So what will happen now is everyone will know next time exactly what's going to happen, and coaches will be prepping for it. Obviously, the chances of it happening again, I don't know. You feel for Ben Healy because obviously he missed the drop goal, real tough drop goal. I just question were Toulouse offside there on that drop goal at the death.
TMO, yes or no?
Well, I haven't managed to freeze frame it, but I'm going to say yeah, they're offside. Should have had a penalty.
And he missed the penalty before that.
Yeah,
Long kick, though.
Why have you been horrible?
No, he showed some stones to step up and try and knock it
No,
from 60
that's-
Totally
metres.
redeem yourself.
But you really feel for him. I've been there. I've missed kicks. I've missed drop goals to win games.
Not like that though. Not
Missed a
under
drop
the-
goal to beat Leinster with the last kick of the game.
Yeah, but is it the same as being under that micro pressure of, I know you went for the drop goal, but
Well, it was in
extra time?
it was in a group game where we knew we had to win to qualify, and we drew. So I flew to Dubai that night, and we had to wait till the next day to see if we qualified for the knockouts. And the results went our way, and we qualified. But yeah, different scale, obviously. But
In terms of that micro
Oh,
pressure
mate,
that he was
awful.
under, yeah.
can only feel sorry for him. But it's like anything, in adversity you gain strength, don't you? And he'll put himself in a hole for a while. He'll be practicing his kicking from those 2 slots, the 15-metre line on the right hand side where he missed the 2 kicks in the penalty shootout. And
It's hard on that right hand side, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
he's a right footer. It didn't look easy. I know that.
no kick's an easy kick, Jim.
Yeah, the ones in front of the post are well easy. Well easy.
Off the sand.
Hold on, Conor Murray missed one in front of the sticks.
Yeah, I might have got that. We should do that. We should do a kicking challenge and see. I'm telling you now, I reckon in front of the
Do you reckon you
sticks,
could beat me?
in kicking,
Yeah.
with a fused ankle, the fact that you can't even probably put the tee down now. Will you just drop the tee? Will you?
I'll do it with my left, mate. I'll still beat you.
La Rochelle won the All-French quarter-final, didn't they?
My goodness, mate. Did you see it, Jim?
I saw a little bit of it. I wasn't
Victor
overly
Vito
bothered.
was ridiculous, as was Lavani Bottia. They were the 2 differences in that team. Like, there's some absolute monsters in that La Rochelle team. And this is where Jim says earlier on that Leinster are big favourites.
Well, they got smoked, didn't they?
They got
By
smoked by La Rochelle last year, just before the Lions selection. And it was that whole power thing, wasn't it? And you're looking at that La Rochelle team, Danny Prizzo at loose head prop, monster. Winnie Antonio, tight head prop, monster. You go through the Gregory Aldry, ridiculously good. Victor Vito, he's had a few injuries, he's back. He's finishing at the end of the season, phenomenal. And then you got Bottier at 12. Dante didn't even play. He's there. They have got some monstrous players. So La Rochelle were great. Bottier and Victor Vito were the massive differences. When you're sticking the ball between your legs, round your back, over your bush, under your bush, Bottier's taken about 4 defenders to bring him down. Montpellier put up a good fight. The game was probably gone at half-time. They scored straight after half-time and made a decent game of it. Obviously, our friend of the show, Zach Mercer, scores. Played pretty well, but they're a proper outfit, La Rochelle. Really well coached by Rog, and they're massive contenders. Their only issue is they've got to go away to Racing, which isn't in Racing.
Where is it?
It's at Lens Football Club, or Lens, however you say it. LENS, because there's another concert at the La Défense Arena. I don't think it's Ed Sheeran, but
Imagine if it is. Hilarious.
Sale looked pretty good at half-time in the first half. Second half, blown away by Racing.
Which was going to happen. I mean, fair play to Sale. They spoke about it in the lead-up to the week, the physicality. So Racing knew what was coming. Well coached, as we know, and Alex Sanderson haven't been amazing this season. But you look at the profile of the team and the South African backbone, McGinty being back, Faf de Klerk, Lou Diega, mentioned the Dupree boys a few times, Manu Tuolangi in the centre. So you look at the profile of the team and you know that they can stick with Racing physically. And they did, like you just said, they did for the first half, for large parts of the game. But where they're lacking Sale is what we've seen for the last couple of years. They can bang anyone. They can bang with the best. Is that a saying? It is now.
Yeah.
Can you say that?
I think so, yeah.
Bang with the best of them.
Not the. You say bang with. It's slightly different. And they did. And they were banging them for fun. And you said that?
Yep.
Banging for fun.
And I
There's
loved
nothing wrong
it.
with that.
I love watching that style of rugby. It's tough to play, but when you've got South African players in your team, that is the way to go. And it was similar to Toulouse and Munster. You could feel that Racing were going to come back at some point with the players that they've got. Finn Russell, just to name one, who I thought was brilliant.
Magician.
And they've been there and done it as well. That's the thing. I know that Toulouse it went to penalty kick, so trying to draw comparisons to them in this game. But in terms of teams that have done it before, Toulouse champions, Racing, how many finals have been to? 2, 3?
Yeah, at least.
Well, they've been to a load of finals. So you know when it comes down to it, they're at home, that they'll absorb the physicality, and when they get their opportunity, they'll go. And that's exactly what they did. And it was actually, I don't think this, like, they have 40 points put on them, like Alex Anderson said after. And that was the interesting thing. Really, again, Sale shouldn't beat Racing. If you look at the amount of money that the players are paid, and Alex came out and said, you know,
He's been on the good side of it, though, hasn't he, old Alex?
well, you could say that.
At the old Saracens days, don't want to bring it up,
You could
talking
say
about
that.
paying players.
But
Oh, Goodey.
20 million or not? That was what.
I don't know, how much do you get at Saris?
Too much, but not 20 million. Or anywhere near being able to input it in that. But he's got a point, hasn't he? Like, it's not sour grapes. It's like
Hold on a
Sale
minute.
played as good as they could.
Imagine being, when it's Alex Anderson, and this is my gripe, when Alex Anderson was coaching Saracens, imagine being a coach at another club, looking at Saracens, knowing what they were doing, looking at their squad, going, it's not fair. It's not fair.
With me on the bench, they ain't
and
saying
you probably
that.
looked
They
at
ain't
those
saying
other,
that.
You used to probably look at those other coaches and go, and? But if another coach complained about it back in the day in Premiership terms, you're now like, oh, you're just whining. Now you're saying it about Alex Anderson. You're saying he's what?
He wasn't a decision maker, Andrew.
No, I know he's not. But
He's just polishing what he's got.
A
And
turd.
what he
And
had.
you can
No,
put-
it was good. They were good turds.
you can put glitter on a turd as well.
Well, of course you can, and that's
You
what
can
they did.
polish a turd, but you can roll it in glitter, right?
Well, however you look
Were
at
you a
that,
glittery
whatever that
turd at
means.
Saracens?
Well, no, mine was very runny, and it was basically on the bottom of your shoe by the end. But he has got a point, because, like, how are you meant to do anything in Europe? We look at the team. So, right, we are segueing slightly, right? So Leinster beat Leicester. What's Leicester's salary cap? What are they?
It's down to 5 mil now.
5 mil plus a couple of
supposedly.
marquees. Leinster's?
Ireland. Just say Ireland.
Do you know Leinster's?
No idea.
There ain't one. There ain't a salary cap.
No.
So
Well, it's the IRFU that run the whole ship there, don't
So theirs could be 20 million, it could be 25 million. I think it's around 13. So my sources tell me. It's obvious when you look at it. La Rochelle, look at the players that they've got. Really, I know Montpellier, I'm not bothered about Montpellier. They almost threw the tournament when they got 90 points put on them.
they? Oh, you're being horrible again.
Toulouse, again. You look
Toulouse's
at Europe,
wages aren't as big as you think.
but they're going to be bigger than Munster's, maybe.
Okay.
Because Munster are under the IRFU.
Yeah.
But my point being, Munster's compared to Sales,
Yeah.
Leinster's compared to Sales, the two
Yeah.
French teams
Yeah.
compared to Sales.
Oh, I get it. And I'll just say the reason for the salary cap, and I had this conversation in the office this morning with a chap at work.
What's his name? Dave.
I can't tell it, Josh. And we're chatting about the salary cap, and clubs that have gone bust without a salary cap, no doubt about it. You basically, and we've talked about it on here, every club is losing on average around 4 or 5 million quid a year. Someone's putting their hand in their pocket wearing that 5 million quid a year. So if you make the salary cap even bigger, you're wearing 7, 8, 9, 10 million a year. Who's doing that?
Well, ask your mate Dave, what's the point in European rugby then?
Who's Dave?
The mate you spoke to at work.
Josh.
Oh, Josh. Josh or Dave.
Yeah, but I mean, I get it. I do get it. But we're competing with different animals.
But they're competing with different animals, but in the same competition. Like, that's
Yeah.
the whole point,
But
really.
you want to be part of it, though, don't you? But also, would you want a 6-team Premiership because 6 other teams have gone bust? And that's, you have to have the salary cap in there to keep the game alive in our country as it stands right now. Because, and the Irish clubs are different because the IRFU run everything, same as, you know, the RFU, if they wanted to run it back in the day when they had the opportunity.
And Scotland, Edinburgh's 3.8 salary cap.
There you go. Well, we'll come on to hashtag Always Wasps later on, Jim. But yeah, so Sale, you know, they were well beaten. Listen, Racing were the better team, and you know, when you got the magic man they've got in Finn Russell, Teddy Thomas doing what he did, what a ridiculous finish that was.
I don't remember. I'm stuck for words. I don't remember a better try for a long time.
Well,
skill to have.
There was one at the weekend.
Oh yeah, okay, that's fine. I don't want to be horrible about the tournament, but I mean, I was commentating on it, of course, the captain, so I don't want to be horrible. But I mean, in terms, well, you mentioned him last week.
Yeah,
what a player.
So TMO Andy is back.
Oh, here he goes. What do you got for us?
I do have a couple of complaints. One, firstly, French production companies.
Oh, yeah. They
The
don't
TV
show,
production companies. They
showing
ain't
the
giving,
replays.
yeah, Camel Shat. What a name. Camel the Shat, or the Camel Shat. He could have got sent off in the second minute or whenever it was. But they refused to play any replays. Joy Neville, who was the TMO, whether she got a look at the replays, it looked like shoulder to head to me.
She would have had the replays.
Right, but go into the examples later on in the game where she's trying to get replays from the French TV production crew.
If she didn't get replays, she hit, like, as in fair play to her professionally for not saying that she weren't getting the replays. Because you can hear her, can't you, obviously, across the TV through the ref's mic.
Yeah, but not all the time, though. So they dull it a lot of the time.
Oh, God.
And mute it.
What are you saying?
Well, this is the thing. There's always an issue in France with getting the right TV replays. Normally, because the head of production there is telling the TV cameras to look for artistic shots of the stadium. And you think of watching French rugby games, you always see some mad pictures, don't you? Now, they didn't check Camille the Chat, his shoulder to head in the first couple of minutes. Could have changed the game. You never know. And we didn't see enough replays ourselves to make a decision. So I would like to go back into the archives and see that. But also just French production in general. The commentators were complaining about it, weren't they?
Yeah, it almost felt like the TMO had to beg to get a replay. It was just so frustrating to watch. She's just sitting there. You could see her frustrated, waiting for this replay to come up.
So
she couldn't
French.
get it.
Yeah. So that was
Who's
a bit
to
of a complaint. Blame the French, if in doubt.
Speaking of Racing, we can have a chat now with the man who was pulling the strings in that second half, fly half. Finn Russell joins us. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good.
How good?
Yeah, I'm all right. Back in training today, so back to normal, you know.
Chilled. Well, we don't want to get too excited. We know you've got a big game again at the weekend, but Goodey said that the Nobu that you went to in Dubai was basically the reason why you did that at the weekend.
More or less. Exactly. A week's holiday in Dubai helps.
How good was the week, mate? Because I saw you in Nobu at the start of the week, and then a couple of messages, and then very different holiday to mine. You were happy with the missus, just cruising, getting out of bed when you want to. I'm up with the kids at all times, but it must have helped, after tough Six Nations, and then seeing you back in sparkling form for Racing.
Yeah, no, it was good. When I was with them, it was pretty chilled out, you know. Had dinner and lunches out. You know, obviously plenty of nice restaurants over there, but you know, it's quite a chilled holiday, just in the sun next to the pool or on the beach. So a week of rest was pretty good.
Sweating it out.
Did you see Goodey with his top off or not? Did he keep it on in the restaurant?
Kept it on, yeah.
Finn, how are things, mate? Before we get into the weekend, how are things with you? Obviously, again, without trying to get a headline, but I think we should talk about it. I know it's a while ago now, but with the Scotland stuff, how are you with everything that kind of happened during the Six Nations? Has anything been said? Where's your head at?
No, nothing's really been sort of said. I just came back here and started playing again straight away. So for me, you know, it's quite good getting back here, just getting onto a sort of different focus. Like I said, I came straight back and was playing the next week, so it was only, you know, it's like 2 weeks ago that I had time off. So for me, it's just being back here and focusing on the end of the season here. You know, it's like in the top 14, like every game's kind of must win, especially down at this end. So we have to kind of, you know, focus on every game, which has been pretty good.
Yeah, and what about the Scotland pressures, Finn? And I need to talk about it because John Barclay said once in a generation team. I mean, we've joked about it loads of times when I played for Scotland. It was one of them where every season we'd say, like, this is it, this is it. It felt like this was it for Scotland in terms of where the fixtures fell, the fact that we beat France the year before, beat England, first game round, and it just seemed to kind of not be able to build off the back of that? Is there a reason why? I mean, when you look back on it, if you have looked back on it?
Yeah, I've not really looked back on it. I've not done too much. Like I said, I came straight back here and had to get into games, so I've not looked back at it too much. I just think, I think, like you say, this year could have potentially been a year that we could have, been up there to push to try and win it or whatever. But I think beating England first up was great for us, but I don't actually know if we played that well in that game. We just managed to find a way to win it in the end, which is sometimes all it is in international rugby. But yeah, I personally don't think we really fired as well as we can do this Six Nations.
Right, we'll drop the Scotland stuff, Jim, because you got to change the subject now.
Very true.
He always tries to bring it back to, back in the day, I thought we were going to win. And it's not about you, Jim. Let's talk about Racing. The game at the weekend, obviously, going behind at half-time. Do you have a 5 guys at half-time yourself to pull it back? 35 points in the second half, a bit of a magic touch from yourself. A couple of magic touches, actually, and Teddy Thomas.
Yeah, no. Well, first half, I think we expected that kind of physicality from Sale. They were good defence. They come up hard. And then second half, I think when they sort of tired out, it left a little bit more space around the pitch. And then, the guys that we've got that sort of X factor that when there's a bit of space in front, we can score tries. So I think at half time, I think if we'd gone 6-3 up, going in 6-3, it'd have been, that was probably a reflection of the first half that we didn't really attack as well as we could. The ruck was long and everything. So, back down to Sale playing well first half and putting us under a lot of pressure. Then second half, we managed to open up.
I just want to ask you a quick question about preparation for the game and playing against Manu and seeing it. I've been in the 10 slot when you've got a monster 12 against you. I'm just thinking, fucking hope he doesn't get the ball. But Manu's a different beast, and he was trying to run at you and line you up and all this stuff. But I think you got out of the way a couple of times wisely, didn't you?
I was kind of joking with him before the game. I was like, I hope it's just me miss passes all the time, just going straight to 13, and you're not going to run it straight. And I kind of these sort of jokes before the game. And he said to me, nah, don't worry, I'm just a decoy today. And I was thinking, like, I don't know if that's him playing mind games, like joking around it or what, I'm not sure. But I think it was like, I've been on a tackle him like once or twice. It wasn't actually that bad. I thought their game plan would just be 9 to him, run it straight at me, and then try and play off the front foot ball. I think in the last European games, Stade Francais, obviously they've got Lil Mappy there at 12, with similar sort of profile. So
Wallop.
I thought they were going to do the same with him. But no, I've been quite lucky actually. They didn't target me that much.
Nice. They targeted you a bit though. Like you were getting put on the floor quite a bit, and they were rushing you. And they spoke about it in the lead up in the week. How much of that did you see? And how do you prepare for that? Are you bothered by stuff like that?
No, I don't really mind it. I mean, yeah, they put me under pressure. They flew up, and it was more, they'd sort of I'd pass it and they'd hit me late off the ball, or if I kicked it, they'd try and hit me after I've kicked it. When I was in the defensive line, you could hear them saying there's Finn, kind of go after him, or same thing on attack. So
you could hear him. Who was saying that?
Tom Curry was saying that one time when I caught the high ball and he smashed me after it, and he was trying to give me a little bit of lip, which is quite funny.
Is that when you patted him on the head as well?
It might have been. No, that was another time they gave a penalty away, and I was kind of trying to wind him up. But
Finn, tell me you told him though when he did that you've beaten England the last 2 times you played them.
Never came up in the conversation then, but I'll need to remind him that if I play him again.
Yeah, because it's interesting people putting players down your channel, right? And again, I'm going to talk you up. Like you're one of the best tackling 10s in the world, so I don't know why people would have the idea to be putting runners down your channel when you're one of the best chop tacklers around. Is Manu a bit different? Like, is the worry when you have a player like Manu, or does no one bother you coming down that channel?
No one really bothers me. I think it just depends where I am mentally. From there mentally, and it's a quarter-final European, so I know I'm just going to have to try and tackle, and if you are to get injured or whatever, it's just that's how it goes sometimes, So, like I say, I didn't actually run on straight that many times, which is good, but I think if, defence, if you're kind of the team's mentally there, then you'll be fine. Which for me, it's kind of the same if I'm kind of mentally there. In some games, if it's maybe an easier game or a game that you're 20, 30 points ahead, then I might miss a few more tackles because I'm probably not really there mentally to make them. I'm kind of like, oh, well, if I miss it, it doesn't really matter too much. But quarterfinals, if I was to miss a tackle against Manu or something like that, you can go through and score from there. So, like I said, I didn't have to tackle him too many times, but I think the bigger the game, maybe the better I am in defence.
If in doubt, shout your man. That's all I ever did.
Exactly.
Obviously, the flip side of it, they're trying to put pressure on you when you've got ball in hand. That's something you love, right? You love bringing defences onto you, and there's plenty of sort of crossfield kicks, little kicks in behind. Let's talk about the one magic touch then between you and Teddy Thomas. He shaved his lid. That's one thing, made him quicker.
Yeah.
But that touch from you across to him was brilliant, and then he drops it on his toe. Is he that sort of player day in, day out at training, or was that a complete fluke?
He's a skillful player, and I think when he's got confidence and he's on, he's actually one of the best, if not the best winger in the world. Like he showed in the weekend. He can go round players, can go over them. He's got the skills like that to finish things off. So, that sort of stuff we spoke about during the game, then before the game, and then during the game, about then coming up hard on the outside and these sort of short kicks in behind will put them under pressure. Like no on the line, he tried it a couple of times. Did one to Teddy, one to Juan. It was something that we had there to look at. So, I think it's kind of down to everyone being on the same page, and that little bit of X factor of Teddy being able to pick it up, finish it, and that bit of skill kicking it through when he's almost in touch. It's just kind of everyone being on the same page and being able to execute.
And I hear he's off to La Rochelle next year, isn't he, Teddy Thomas?
Yeah, he's going to La Rochelle, yeah.
Some bant this week, then, eh?
Yeah, it'll be an interesting game. Obviously, Donica Ryan and Rod McGarra were at Racing as well before, so a big game for both teams and individuals.
And Finn, on them games, when you play a knockout stage in a different competition against a team in France, obviously yourself playing against La Rochelle, is it easier or harder? Like if you were to play Leinster or like you played Sale at the weekend, how different is preparation in the lead up to them?
I'm trying to think if I've played another French team in a playoff, or for European stuff anyway. But I think for us, like, we know La Rochelle really well. We played them maybe 5 weeks ago, so we know what their strengths are going to be, where we can try and target them. We've obviously learned from the last couple of times we've played them, and individually know the players much better. I mean, I know going to the Sale game, the boys, all the French boys are asking me like, "Oh, do you know Sale? Like, what do you know about them?" And I'm thinking I don't really know them at all because I didn't play in the Premiership, so I've gone from obviously Glasgow to Racing, so I don't know them that much either. So yeah, just you have a much more common kind of opposition that you're playing against, whether it's the players or the style of play they're going to have.
And looking forward to this weekend's game, you had Manu Tuolangi last week. You're going to have Lavani Bottia coming at you possibly this week. He was ridiculously good against
Goodey's
Montpellier.
favourite player.
He is one of my favourite players. I'd hate to play against him, but Bottia is some monster. How are you going to go about chopping him down? Because he is powerful as they come.
Yeah, well, it'll either be him or Dante. So
could be
again, similar sort of profiles. So I know. Well, in the Six Nations against France, Dante ran over me once, I think, maybe even twice. I can't remember. But no, yeah, Bottia, I think he scored for them last week as well, didn't he? On the cover through, was that? He's like a back row there at centre, isn't he? He can tackle, can run, can pass, can get over the ball. He's a brilliant player, so is Dante. So I don't know, have to be ready for them coming down that 10 channel as usual. So I think the last game we played against them 5 weeks ago, the 9 was having a go at me today because their 9 hit the 12 up and I just kind of drifted on the outside, obviously letting our 9 take them.
Your man.
Yes, I let him know, and he'd obviously a bit smaller. I was defending the outside, the winger was in behind, so I had to go in the winger.
Yeah. Finn, how much say do you get in that team? You look at that Paris team, and I'm not saying that you look like a different player when you play for Racing, because I think you play the same how you play for Scotland, but it's potentially the framework that you're in. How much say do you have at Racing? How much do they give you the keys to the kingdom?
Mike's pretty good, Mike's got structure in place, but at the same time we've got the options around it, and especially at the weekend there against Sale, that was like we said usually maybe up to the halfway we'll kick the ball or whatever, but against Sale we're saying off restarts, let's just go straight away, like kind of there's crossfield kicks that are on from your own 22, so just go for it. I think it might change week to week depending on who you're playing, but Mike's obviously he's the one that's leading the attack. I've just worked really closely with him. I'll have my say to him, and then he's also one that presents it. But I'll be chatting to him throughout the whole week. He'll send me stuff. Like yesterday, he was sending me through the plays and stuff for this week. So we've got a really good relationship for that. I get on really well with all the backs, so I can kind of chat to them about how I need them to work or what I need to kind of look for in the attack. But I think again, most boys are on the same page, and with the X factor we've got there, like if it doesn't really go as planned, the guys are generally good enough to get out of a situation and make it all right. So it's pretty easy.
Yeah, it does look pretty easy playing in that back line. I'm talking about the Galacticos. Obviously, you've got Fiku and you've got Vakatawa and Imhoff, these boys. But two of the boys that really shone at the weekend were the scrum half Legaric and Max Spring at fullback. For people that don't see too much top 14 rugby, these are two real young guys that have come sort of through the academy and stuff at Racing as well, which isn't potentially that well known from outside, but they were worldy players at the weekend, weren't they?
Yeah, and I think they both actually just came back from injury maybe 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago. Nolan came back from, I think both of them came back from shoulder locks.
Making your tackles.
This year. Exactly. That's the right the way. Well, in fact, the first game back Max had was against La Rochelle. And I think the coach's question was like, but what if Will Skelton breaks through? Will I be able to tackle him?
Good luck.
And I'm thinking like, what? Like Will Skelton breaking through? Not that he can't, but I mean, it was quite funny. Like Max is obviously a lot smaller than Will Skelton. That was the question. I think anyone would struggle to tackle him. But now they're brilliant. They come through the academy, like you said. They're only like 21, 22. I think they've both got a lot of confidence, but they back it up with the performances at the weekend. Like Nolan's, he's full of confidence, but he's making line breaks. He can kick, he can run, he can tackle, he can do everything pretty much. And Max at fullback, he showed his class. He's a left footer, so he's great to have for putting teams under pressure through the kicking side of it, as well as running with the ball. He's really good. So I think it's probably the same with a lot of young kids coming through. If they actually get a game and prove what they can do, they're able to show it. I think sometimes you'll get, if let's say if Curtly Beale wasn't injured, would Max Spring be playing? Would he be showing what he can really do? I think if you give a lot of young boys, or not just young boys, but give a lot of boys a chance, and they can actually prove what they can do. So they've been good having a run of games together and in the team.
Have you noticed that with French rugby as a whole? Because it seems like it's kind of the power base now for European rugby. There's a lot of young players coming through. Have you noticed a structural improvement in the way that they're bringing those players through in recent years?
Yeah, well, I don't know about other teams, but I know at Racing they've got a really good academy system. I think Joe Rockacoko's in there, and a couple of other boys coaching them to bring them through. And you did quite all. Like last week, it was pretty much an academy team training against us because we had the 23 running the plays and everything the whole week. So it was like academy training against us. So even having a week like that or 2 weeks like that will bring them up and bring them to the level that they need to be at for the games. And with it being a long season here, you'll go through 45, 50 players probably throughout the year. So every year, if you're one of the better or kind of academy guys, you'll get a couple of games at least during international windows for injuries or whatever. So I think there's a really good relationship there between the academy and the pro team at Racing anyway. Which then when these boys are needed to come through, they're ready to go.
Finn, you sound like you're loving it there, mate. But there are rumours out there that potentially the Prem, Japan, after your year up, the fact that Eddie Jones is going, that you might run away. I know we've got a long way to get there, but we don't know when we're going to get you again. So what's the appetite like to stay? Are you keen to try something else? Are you happy to play under Eddie? 4 questions in one.
Well, that'd be a thing. I mean, like the coaching system or system setup might be changing here, so that would be a part of my decision. Whether I've still got next year my contract, but whether or not I was to stay or to leave or whatever, like the coaching part could put an impact in that. Obviously, like I said, I work so closely with Mike that him leaving, having a new attack coach coming, that could be completely different for me, and it might be a system that I really don't like, I don't agree with, or whatever it is. So I'm really keen to re-sign, but I think there's a few things that I'd have to look into. Obviously, like I say, about the coaching stuff, and who they're going to look to bring in and whatever, to see if it's somewhere that's going to kind of suit the way that I like to play, or if it's maybe better going somewhere else. So yeah, I don't know. I'm keen to stay, but there's a few things that I'm waiting to see kind of what happens in the next maybe few weeks or year or whatever it is.
And what about the amount of games, Finn, that you're playing? I think I've got down here that you've played 28 games this season, and there's talk about extending the season now. We were just talking about this new Nations Championship that they're talking about as well. Not that you have to know much about that, but it will mean effectively more games. Like, how are you? And I say that, I spoke to Ebenezer Beth a couple of weeks ago, and he said the max games he thinks anyone should play is 25, 26. You're 2 more than that. You've got a long season to go still, and if you tour in the summer, what are your views on the amount of games that you're having to play?
I think it's different for me as a 10. Physically, it doesn't have that much of an impact on me. It's more the mental side of it and having a long season. And I think, but having big squads and like the depth that we've got in the squad, I got a week off a few weeks ago. Total gave me a week off during the Six Nations, which was great. So I think if players are managed well, you can do these games. And I think, for me signing in France but playing with Scotland, I could potentially go back to Scotland and get looked after more by playing less games. So not having a shorter season, but playing less games per season. But then that's up to me, my decision. So for me, I prefer being over here, playing more games, but playing for Racing and living over here. So yeah, for me, I think it's a long season, but if the coaches can manage it well, then players should be okay. But then again, it's different to everyone. Evan, he's a second row. He's physically going to be knackered after every game as well. I don't know if he drives the lineouts or what. He's probably got to be switched on for all the lineout stuff and everything that's going on there. So it might change, player to player, but also position to position.
And 3-test tour to Argentina this summer, isn't it? If you're going anywhere near Salta, unbelievable nightclub, sushi restaurant that turns into a nightclub from about 10 years ago. Get yourself on that trip. Are you keen to go on tour as well? Because the end of a horrendously long season for you off the back of the Lions last year as well. You'll be keen to get that Scotland jersey back on, right?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. It depends how the season here goes at Racing. If we were, there's still a chance that we, could lose this weekend, lose the next weekend against Montpellier and be out of the top 14 and Europe. So our season, I might only have 2 or 3 games more left, depending on how we go. If we're to get to the final of both tournaments, we've got about 7 more games. So it would depend on how the next few weeks go here, and I'll wait and see how that goes first, and then have a think, obviously, about next season and what's maybe best for me. 7
more games, that's 35 Jimmy to played. He's earning those euros, isn't he?
Oh, mate.
And the Lambo.
if you go based on
if boys are if you're going to keep playing this amount of games, the salary cap needs to go up. Need to get paid more.
Amen. Amen. Well, if you type in top highest earners on Google, Finn's in the top 3.
There you go.
It's absolutely fine. Finn, just lastly from me before you go, Henry Arundel's try at the weekend against Toulon that's gone viral. Did you know he's Scottish? Would you advise him to play for Scotland if he's only allowed 1 beer?
I didn't know he's Scottish, but I saw the try. Yeah, definitely should play with Scotland.
Hoggy's gone. Hoggy's got to go, hasn't he?
No, we'll put Henry in.
Is it a fullback? I thought he was a winger.
He played fullback as well.
Yeah, and saying that, we've got Duan, Darcy, Hoggy. Got some good wingers and fullbacks, obviously. So, I don't know. It could be a case where he goes to the England squad and then comes and plays for Scotland after and claims it's always want to play with Scotland. Or, I don't
know what you're talking about.
All right, Finn, thank you very much for coming on the show, mate, and best of luck against La Rochelle this weekend.
Thank you.
Cheers, Finn.
Cheers, Finn.
Cheers. See you in a bit.
Thanks, mate.
Top lad.
Yeah.
We said it together this time because we're not remote, so we can do it exactly the same time.
Mate, he's a hell of a boy, isn't he? Like, and I go back. We were chatting in Nobu, and he said it then. He's so relaxed about everything, and he's just the player that he wants to be. And one of the things he said about the coaching at Racing, he wants to play somewhere where he agrees with the philosophy. And if you've got a player like Finn Russell, who is ridiculously talented, some might think he's too laid back, but on the big stage, he pulls rabbits out of hats, and he's the magician, right? Same thing Marcus Smith at England. The worst thing Racing could do is get Eddie Jones, because you're going to lose Finn Russell, potentially.
Basically, that's what he said, didn't he?
And you're going to play the complete opposite rugby of what we watch Racing do week in, week out. Imagine like Vakatawa and Fiku and Finn Russell and Wanimov and Max Spring at fullback going, just kick and chase, lads. That's the way you play bloody raggers, mate. Eddie Jones here, just kick it and chase it. But anyway, back to Finn. What a ledge. Enjoyed his company in Nobu.
He's a good lad, and he's just a normal lad who is, if you Google it, I think he's in the top 5.
Top 3.
Not that that's the thing.
Top 3.
It's not a thing, but
it is when you got a Lambo.
When I saw it, I was like,
he deserves it.
Yeah, that's how good he is.
Yeah.
And he took a lot of stick. He probably didn't want to go into it. He definitely didn't want to go into it. You could tell.
You straight in for the Scotland. How many beers?
But the thing is, he's one of the most famous people in Scotland. Yeah. Off the back of who he is, the way that he plays. He's everyone's favourite players. Yeah. Him, Hoggy, Hamish, and Jim. Like there's a group of us. There's a group of us whose names just roll off the tongue.
Let's go him, Hoggy, and Hamish.
I'll tell you, it's so funny. I was at the airport and the bloke came up to me and said, brought his son over.
Nice to see you, Swinno.
His son to try and get a picture. And I said, "You know who I am?" So his son didn't have a clue. I was like, "Mate, why are you making him get a picture of me?" He's got no idea. Who's your favourite player? Finn. Of course it is. I know Finn. I said, "Actually, I got Finn on the podcast." But I'm interested to see how things unfold with him in Scotland, because as a part of it, it's like, would you want to be in that environment if you're not happy? Do you know what I mean? And we've seen players leave international teams when they're not happy. Do you know what I mean?
If you can only have 4 beers, I wouldn't be in it. 5 minimum.
Professional. But anyway, there's undeniable. Look at the weekend, and he's obviously a good mate. You're now best mates with him, having shared. Oh, you didn't share anything with him.
I didn't share any food with him. Did we share desserts? No, I ate all my dessert as well. We had a load of desserts at the table.
Yeah, he's a lovely bloke.
Let's have a chat about the Challenge Cup quickly then. Wasps and Saracens, Goodey.
Well, let's rewind the clock, because #Jim's team always
Robbed.
Edinburgh.
I only watched the highlights. So
Let's go back.
You're going to have to give me some
Right,
details.
I'll give you some
because it was doing the
details.
rounds that Edinburgh have been absolutely mugged off at the damn Health Stadium.
Yeah, the damn health. Well, let's go back to the French referees again. And I'm going to be brutally honest. Pierre Brousset, who looks like Mr. Bean, you're allowed to say that because he just looks like him, had a shocker. One of Wasp's tries, there was the biggest knock-on you've ever seen. I think it was Elliot Stooke, got the ball off Charlie Atkinson at 10.
He needs to see your man as well, doesn't he?
Elliot Stooke needs his lid doing. The ball's, he's dropped it, it's bounced off a Edinburgh player, back into the hands of a Wasps player. The most obvious knock-on ever. A referee's like, nah, bleh, 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 bleh. Wasps score 2 phases later. You're like, how's the TMO and the ref? What are they doing it? If you're an Edinburgh fan, you're raging. The best team won. Again, you can talk. It was a very close game. You can talk about refereeing decisions and all this stuff. The ref was shocking. Lost control of it. At the end, Wasps are steaming over the try line from a driving line out 5 metres out. They sack it. Edinburgh sack it a yard out. Player gets binned. It's got to be penalty try as well. Oh, no, not in the France. This is not fair. But Wasps were good enough to get the win. Bit of luck with some of the decisions. Again, absolute shit show at the breakdown, as you expect from a French referee. But it's not #always Edinburgh anymore, Jim. It's #always Wasps. You take the piss out of Wasps.
I don't.
And then we go up to Edinburgh and dust off your team.
I don't. I feel for Edinburgh. They have got it up against them the next couple of weeks. So they've got to play. So you know the way that the Champions Cup unfolds, right?
Yeah.
So
it's very complicated.
So
in the URC.
From the URC, it's the winner of their plates or whatever, the little micro.
Scotland and Italy.
So a Welsh team effectively is going to be in the Champions Cup next year.
They have to have one.
So Edinburgh play Glasgow in a URC game to top the
decide.
Pool, to decide. And I mean, either way, one of them is going to Leinster, one of them is going to South Africa. So the URC you could potentially say is done. But the big one is that game is to get into Europe. Yeah. And I just mentioned that. Can you believe the Welsh teams are still in the Champions Cup when they've done nothing? They don't deserve to be in the URC. But anyway, that's...
Fast forward to the semi-finals, as you asked about, Andy Rowe.
So Wasps are away at Lyon.
Yeah. Tough. Seeing the size of that Lyon team. Tuasova, any team that Tuasova's in, he could absolutely destroy a team on his own.
It is good,
Wasps are going to nick it. Wasps are going to win.
Yeah, I think.
Wasps Sarries final. Here's one for you. Imagine a Wasps versus Saracens final, right? In the words of Jim Hamilton, who got to do the Gloucester against Saracens quarter-final, within 10 minutes of being on within 10 seconds of being on air, you'd name drop the fact that you played for Saracens and won 2 Heineken Cups and finished your career there after 3 years, and captain Gloucester for a year.
Just to balance the books.
I played at Saracens for 18 months and vice-captain Saracens.
Yeah.
And I played at Wasps for 2 years. I was definitely captain for about 2 minutes on the pitch after 13 other players went off injured.
You want a job, don't you?
Maybe I'm the man. I'm the man for that final. Probably not, though. I'd love to see a Wasps Saracens final. Saracens were good, though, eh?
Very good. Very good.
Elliot Daly, double top. What about that throw in from line out?
What about Billy? The old dinky doos.
Billy's line out throw in. Here, mate, have a
20 odd carries.
Elliot, how have you picked out Elliot Daly? Gone right? Who else can do it?
Well, I think that it's put your hand up. Who wants it?
Yeah.
And you know what? That in a snapshot shows how comfortable it was.
Yeah.
The big talking point out of that game, as a Gloucester fan, was Jamie George not getting red carded.
Red?
Which was hard to go. Yeah, well, he made a high tackle, didn't he, on Reed when he came around the corner?
Yeah, he was going backwards, though.
He was, yes, and I agree that it's a yellow. But if you're a Gloucester fan...
Mitigation. TMO Andy
of
here.
course. I thought Frank Murphy dealt with it very well.
How
He's
good
coming
does
of age.
How good does Frank Murphy look as a ref as well?
Amazing. Slightly bent over. I mean, we all are. We're bending over slightly at the neck, and that's age and also playing a contact sport. His teeth. I said to him before the game, "You've had them
Teeth
done."
and lid.
He said no. He said he's had them straightened Invisalign.
Yeah.
I mean, I was looking at my teeth. If you can look at your own teeth,
The
can you look at your own teeth or not?
in the mirror.
Yeah.
Unless
I
you've
wonder
got
if
a
anyone
massive,
can look
a
at
massive
their teeth.
underbite. Oh.
Yeah, I can't. Well, anyway, Frank Murphy's teeth looked unbelievable, and I agree it was a yellow card. Gloucester fans were not having it, but Saracens just complete domination.
Yeah, it was a Saracens loving from your point of view, wasn't it?
But that's
You've got so much more love for Saracens than you have for Gloucester.
I was
Why
Gloucester
didn't you-
captain.
Yeah, but you hate them compared to Saracens.
You're a Twitter troll like the rest of them calling me out. There was
I said you were amazing, mate. I
Yeah,
said you were
know,
amazing.
But in terms of the bias, you've got to go with the team that were best, and Saracens
Or paid you
were-
the most.
Well, actually,
And a house.
yeah, you might have been right. Not the ass, but I might have got paid more.
Sorry,
I'm a better player.
The one bed
I
flat.
was in my
Sorry.
prime.
Thanks, Goodey. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, producer Tristan. And thank you very much for listening as well. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube and make sure you've subscribed on Spotify.
We back, baby. Rugby Spot.
We're back. Spotted pod.